Welcome to Built with Purpose. I am Chris Fay, and this is the show where vision meets execution and leadership leaves a legacy. From design studios to innovation hubs and product lines to skylines, we meet the people building more than great companies. They're creating culture, driving impact, and shaping what's next. These are the stories and strategies behind how the world gets built with purpose. All right, everybody, welcome to Built with Purpose. Today is another episode of Between the Builds, our chance to kind of reflect back on last week's guest. And last week was a pretty interesting one. I had OpenAI's ChatGPT. Her name is Abby. I call her Abby because I got tired of addressing her as ChatGPT. She does have a female voice, i.e. listing her. And I thought it would be an interesting conversation to talk to her and actually have her as a guest on the show. So I hope you enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun for me. That's one of the biggest ways that I interact with AI, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or any of the tools that I'm using. I just tend to be more of an audio person. I hit dictate and I just roll, or I'll pop out the voice mode and have a conversation. I usually use the voice mode in the car, just kind of hands-free. If I want to talk, if I'm at my desk, I just use the dictate. It's a great way for me to speed up my thoughts and get them out, not have to type, and then to actually have kind of this bantering interaction. I figured it'd be fun for you all to see that last week. So if you haven't seen that episode, go back and take a look at it. It was pretty fun. But what's interesting is what basically happened at the bridge of that episode is I began migrating or adding Anthropic Claude to my workflow. And it's interesting to see how these LLMs and tools are evolving and changing. At this stage, I've really found that Claude has given me more succinct, better insights, but I'm still using ChatGPT. And actually, if I have a big conversation or a big strategy I'm working on, I might run it through Claude and then I'll run it through ChatGPT and then bring that information back into Claude or vice versa. So it's interesting how we can use multiple tools. Each one seems to be better at certain things, but it was interesting. I'm sitting there having a conversation with Abby, my ChatGPT. Meanwhile, I'm over here working on a transition to Claude. It will be interesting to see how all this evolves in the coming months and the coming years. Obviously, there's a lot of other tools that are out there. And so maybe what I'll do next time, maybe I'll have Claude on as a guest and we'll see how the dynamics look. I feel like I've talked a lot about AI recently, and certainly it's a massive topic for all of us. It is an incredible disruptor to our lives, to our businesses, but that disruption can actually be a very positive to us if we embrace that. One of the things, as you know, if you listened to the show in the past, is when I started at kind of our parent company, TPM, that was an organization that my father-in-law actually founded. I was in construction for many years and then came into call it the family business back in 2011. We've gone through a tremendous amount of change, started new companies, spun out, sold businesses, bought businesses, and have really kind of transitioned the organization in the last 15 years. But what's interesting, and we've talked about this in the past, is how do you shepherd a company or a team or an individual through change? The idea that I've had, and we've talked about in our business, is how do I preserve that legacy, preserve what made us who we are, but also make sure I'm heavily leaning into innovation? That's one thing that we all can think about in our lives. With the advent of AI or technology or social media, we don't lose who we are. We as individuals have to remember who we are, what made us, God's influence on our lives, the experiences that we've gained, the good things that we have and the bad things that we have. But we also have to really lean forward into innovation to make sure that we are changing and adapting to the new world. And so this balance of legacy and innovation has always kind of been in the back of my mind as I've shepherded this company forward. And sometimes you lean a little bit too far into innovation and you might forget a bit of the legacy. Sometimes you might be a little bit more legacy minded and fearful of the change. But this balance, I feel like, is in all of our lives. So the quote that came to my mind that led me to today's Between the Builds, especially after this conversation with AI last week and some of the other things that we have going, is a line from our mission statement. And it says that the world is changing on a daily and weekly basis. And we have to embrace that change and never stop learning. And so what's interesting about that is that was written probably over 40 years ago when my father-in-law was very early in his career. When we were looking at redefining our mission and our principles and where we're going as a company, I made a very strategic decision to keep our mission statement as it was 40 years ago. And that is the preservation of our legacy, some of the original thoughts that still hold true today. And then we also then released our success principles and a few other guiding areas of our business. But that was how we leveraged that balance. But that statement that's in our mission statement, the world, our market, your job, my job, the industry is changing, and it's changing on a daily and weekly basis. And we have to embrace the change and never stop learning. So that brought me back to the conversation and how I think all of us are probably thinking about artificial intelligence progress and what this means. You're not going to stop progress. You're just not. Innovation and progress is going to happen whether you want to or not. There are some naysayers out there. There's a few government institutions and maybe a few companies that are saying, I'm not going to let AI disrupt our workforce, our lives. We're going to try and buck the trend. That has a failing outcome. The reality is if you can't prevent progress, how do you make sure that you're leaning into that and understanding how it's going to affect your life, no matter how scary it is? The word that I thought about today was this word fear. What prevents us from taking steps towards a more innovative mindset or a goal or a new role or a new company or a new adventure? And it's fear. It's fear. And oftentimes fear is grounded in kind of the unknown. I'm not sure what this is going to look like on the other side. It's different from what I'm used to today. And so it injects fear. Maybe you're taking a risk and that risk is fear presenting itself. This fear is so natural for all of us. Sometimes when we get scared or we get fearful, we might feel ashamed of that. Well, gosh, why am I scared of this? It's making me feel a certain way and it's actually making me retract back from what I actually need to be doing. But what if we reframed our mind around what fear is? The question I would kind of ask for you all today is, where do you want to go in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you want to progress and get better and grow? Or do you want to retract, get worse, and have a crappy life? I would say 99.9% of us would all say that we want to grow. One of my favorite sayings, we talk about it here internally, is getting comfortable, getting uncomfortable. I woke up this morning, I try and do during the week, I exercise in the morning, usually try to do 2 to 3 days a week. This morning, I woke up, my son usually wakes up for his football workouts, and so that helps me get out of bed. But this morning, he didn't have workouts. So I laid in bed, alarm goes off, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, man, I just don't feel it this morning. I could use an extra 45 minutes of sleep. I got a busy week ahead and a busy week next week. But what I reminded myself of is when you do hard things, when you get comfortable getting uncomfortable, that's where growth comes from. I'm not going to get healthier in my lifestyle if I don't take action and exercise and do the things that support my body. I'm not going to get better in my career if I don't push myself to learn and progress and to get better and to push myself outside of my comfort zone. The only way to grow is to get damn uncomfortable in what you're doing every day. And that's where the fear comes from. What prevents us from taking that step in being uncomfortable? And it's fear. It doesn't feel very good. You get up and you're tired. You're taking a step that's pushing yourself outside of your limits. It can be uncomfortable. But you know what happens? When you do things that are hard, those hard things tend to get easier over time. And great book, How Many Days Does It Take to Build a Habit? And you've heard my Gandhi quote around what ultimately produces your destiny, but it takes 66 days. That's the average. Everybody, different opinions and everything, but about 66 days to develop habit. On the first day, if you want to start exercising or develop a new habit or stop smoking or stop drinking or whatever it is that you want to do in your life, that first day is probably not going to be very comfortable. And maybe the second day is not going to be very comfortable. But a week from now and 2 weeks from now, if you stay true to the process, likely it's going to be less uncomfortable. And by the time that you get a couple months in, it's really not that hard. It's second nature. And now you've developed a habit. And those habits ultimately, from the quote, produce your values, and then your values ultimately your destiny. If we look at fear as not something to be scared of and to retract from, but if we look at fear as an opportunity to get uncomfortable, and if we know that getting uncomfortable and doing hard things is the only way to grow, then why are we so fearful of artificial intelligence? Why are we so fearful in taking a step in our career? Why are we so fearful in doing the hard things in our life? Because hard things over time become easier. Getting comfortable, getting uncomfortable is where growth comes from. All of us a minute ago probably answered that we probably want to grow. We probably want to progress in our career. We probably want to make some more money. We probably want to be more fit and more healthy. We probably want to have a better relationship with our friends and family. We probably want to go do adventurous things and step outside of our comfort zone. And the only way that we can do that is to attack our fears. Attack them. And if you attack your fears, it'll be amazing to see how quickly and how much you will progress. I told the story probably a number of months ago. We have a sales guy that works for us, an awesome guy. It's been with us for quite a while. And we had a leadership meeting and he's part of the leadership team. And we were talking around, everybody brought a prop that would kind of demonstrate who they are. And he brought this buffalo. And I told the story a number of months ago, but he brought the buffalo. He was talking around the difference in cows and buffaloes in storms. When storms are approaching, cows tend to retreat and run away from the storm. What does that mean? Eventually, the storm is going to hit them. But if you're running away from the storm and the storm catches you, how long are you going to be in the storm? Probably quite a while. Vice versa, the buffalo runs into the storm. The storm is approaching, the buffalo runs into the storm, and what happens is they end up moving through the storm much quicker than the cow. How do you relate that to what we've been talking around about fear and growth and change? It's not that the buffalo's not scared. The buffalo just knows that if it attacks its fear, it has a much higher likelihood of, number one, getting through it and surviving. But also, if it attacks its fear, it's going to be uncomfortable for a shorter period of time. And likely when the next storm comes, it might be a little bit easier. Via the cow that's running away from its fear. The cow and the buffalo might actually have the same fear. The cow just chooses to address the fear differently. When we think about artificial intelligence, man, I'm scared of this thing. It's going to put me out of business. It's going to change the way that we do things. It's going to change jobs. Maybe it threatens some of the work that I'm doing today. You know what? You're probably right. Can you stop it? No. That storm is coming. And all of us have fear. I have fear about our business. You have fear in your lives. But are we choosing to address the fear as the buffalo, or are we choosing to address the fear as the cow? It doesn't mean the fear changes. It just changes how long we're in the storm, and it changes the ultimate outcome. And for all of us that want to grow, I want to grow, you want to grow. We're going to grow at different rates. All good. But if you want to grow and I want to grow, and we know the only way to grow is to do hard things and to get comfortable getting uncomfortable, then what are we fearful of? Attack your day. Attack artificial intelligence. Run into the storm and figure it out, because it's coming. If you're a leader or a business owner or a coach or somebody that is in charge of shepherding a team or a message forward, this is the message that you need to bring to your team. And not everybody is going to hop on board. Not everybody is going to be the buffalo. You are going to have team members that retreat and retract and run from fear. But what that tells you, probably not the right people for you to have on your team. You need to surround yourself with a bunch of folks that are ready to run into the storm, figure this thing out with a bit of the unknown, be okay being fearful, but knowing that's the only way to grow. So I love this topic. We talk a lot about it internal. I try and talk to my boys about it and the people that work for us, but ultimately we want to grow and progress as a society. And the only way that we can do that is to embrace hard things and to get freaking comfortable getting uncomfortable. That's my challenge for you. You listen to this podcast, you're thinking about your day, you're thinking about your week. What's the one action that you can take this week to get a little uncomfortable? What's the one action that puts those butterflies in your belly and makes you feel a little bit fearful? If you're feeling those butterflies, you're likely heading in the right direction. So what's that one thing that you can do this week? Take action on that one thing. Be the buffalo, run into the storm, embrace your fears, and do that time and time again. And I promise you, your progress will get easier and your growth will accelerate. Awesome episode today. Thank you for listening. Please feel free to keep contacting us. I get lots of questions and insights about the podcast, and looking forward to next week. Y'all have a great day. See ya. Okay, thanks for joining me on Built with Purpose. If you have enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, share, and leave us a review. It helps more bold leaders find the show. For resources and show notes, visit our website and connect with me, Chris Fay, on LinkedIn. Until next time, keep building great companies, cultures, and legacies with purpose.